Well, good evening. Today is Saturday, January 18th. And I just realized that Jim didn't even say anything. Today is the anniversary of when Jim and I met, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But today is Mary Ann Andre, Andree. Today's Mary Ann's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mary Ann. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. It's also Sandy Orso, O-U-R-S-O. I think she said to pronounce it like Corso, but without the C, so that's why I went Orso. So Sandy, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sandy. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Amber Niddy, N-I-D-A-Y, Niddy. Amber, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amber. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. And Thomas Dean, today is Thomas Dean's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Thomas. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Well, I hope all four of you have a great, great birthday today. Oh, like I said, today was the anniversary of when Jim and I met, January 18th, 1967 at about 2:15 in the afternoon, because my best friend Sue, who I'm still friends with, who I've been friends with since I was 2 years old, she used to live down the street from us, and my mother and her mother were friends, and so we've been together since 72 years. We've been friends. How many people can say that? But we were both skipping class. I was skipping geometry, which was really the biggest mistake of my life, because I kept skipping at the beginning because at the first couple days I was sick, and so I missed the first couple days when you had to learn the theorems or whatever they're called. I'm never using geometry in my life, let alone algebra. Straight A's in algebra. Straight A's. There was not a problem that I couldn't solve in algebra. I took algebra 1, 2, 3, and 4. Straight A's. Nothing less than an A. I got into geometry, all cocky, because I knew I had all A's in algebra. I was lost. I was completely lost. I missed, like I said, the first couple days when you have to learn the theorems and all that. And then the more I wasn't paying attention because I was so far behind, I got an E. They didn't have F's in those days. They had E's, A, B, C, D, E. And obviously E wasn't for effort. E was like, you're extremely bad, because I was bad. And it just really... it cut into my ego after getting all A's for 2 years, because like it's two semesters. So like in 10th and 11th grade, straight A's in algebra. 12th grade, geometry. Down the tubes. I couldn't master that for nothing. So I just, I couldn't really care. And she was taking a German class, and she didn't like German. She was only taking it just to take it. And so she didn't like that either. So we decided we were going to skip. And we were going to go across the street to this little candy shop called K's, K-A-Y-S, that was forbidden. You weren't supposed to go there. It was like off limits. It's like, ooh, only the naughty people go there. So we were going to go there. And so we were walking down the hall, and back then they had hall monitors, and you had to have a hall pass to be in the hall between classes. And you would think I would have made myself a permanent one, because I used to work in I did the whole time I went to high school. I worked in the counselor's office, and I was the counselor's aide, and I wrote out all the passes. I had lots of friends, or friends. They were not necessarily people that would invite me to anything, but I was good enough to give them a pass, a hall pass or something, or give them a pass to get out of class, or if they skipped a class or something. You think I would have been smart enough then. But to write myself a pass so I could have went through the halls with ease, for one for me and one for Sue, no, didn't think about it. So anyway, we're walking down the hall, and Jim was a monitor, and he stopped us. Wanted to see our hall passes. We didn't have any. He wasn't my type. Just, there's just something about him. Yeah, I could take or leave you. But Sue was flirting with him. Like, she was to beat the band. And I thought, well, if you want to go right ahead, maybe we'll get off because you're flirting with him. And so he started like taking a shine to Sue, and then a teacher was coming, and so then he was like arresting me type of thing to bring me to the counselor's office. And I was pissed, because like, you're letting Sue go, but you're bringing me. You should have been bringing us both to the counselor's office. And so as the way the hallway was like this, and when the teacher went into the blind spot around the corner, I slapped my arm as hard as I could because I had a short sleeve shirt on. And I said, don't you ever do that to me again. And the teacher come back and I said, he was getting fresh. So they said, just go to your class. And they, like reprimanded Jim. Well, then he did ask Sue out. Fine, whatever. So then he asked, I've told this story before, but I'm telling it again because it's my anniversary. So you got to put up with me telling it again. So him and Sue went out. I don't know where they went. They went somewhere. And then Sue and I got into a fight about something, as only girls do, best friends do. Just silly. I can't even tell you what it was about. It was something silly. I know it was. And she was bragging that she had a boyfriend and I didn't. And she was lucky and I was a loser and blah, 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 all that good stuff. And as you know, I've said it many times, if he ever watches the channel, he never came to any of the reunions either. So I don't even see what he looks like nowadays. But Chuck Cyback, I remember the name because I just was so in love with Chuck Cyback. Didn't give me the time of day. And Sue was quick to point that out. Because when you're best friends, you share information like that. We were sharing information that how much I was in love with Chuck Cyback. And he didn't know I existed. We sat right next to each other in 3 classes. He took notes off of I let him copy off of my papers. But anyway, we had a big fight. And so then I told her, I said, if I really wanted to, I could take that loser of a guy away from you because he is like nothing. And she says, I'd like to see you try. And so I did my little flirting with him. I stole his coat, threw it in the girls' bathroom, and then ran off like a thief in the night. He had to find another girl to go in the bathroom to get it. And I just kept it up until he asked me out. And so then that night I called Sue and I go, okay, I won. He asked me out. Blah, blah, you're not the great like the cherry on top of his sundae. And she says, well, I won't believe it until he takes you out. So he asked me to go to the show. No, he asked me to go to the basketball game. That was the first date. We went to a basketball game on our first date. And we were sitting in the stands, and he said, he says, I'm going to go get a Coke and some popcorn. Would you like some? And I go, yeah, that sounds good. I'd like that. And he says, and held his hand out, and he says, where's your money? Loser. He's like, is that the right way? Loser. Anyway, I never know when you're on camera. Is that the L? Yeah, loser. He didn't buy me any popper. I said, no, never mind. I don't want any. I didn't bring any money. I was on a date. Back then, boys paid for everything. He came back. He didn't even offer me any. So we get home, and I said, okay. I went out with him. The loser didn't even buy me a pop and a popcorn because the basketball game was like 50 cents. He did spring for the 50 cents for the ticket. I don't really think he sprung for the 50 cents. Even to this day, I don't think he sprung for the tickets. I think he got them free because he was the student manager of the football team, and I think that gave him passes to all the games all year round. I don't know this for a fact. I never asked him. But now I'm thinking about it. I'm going to ask him. He won't remember. He'll just say he bought the ticket. I know that. Anyway, I called her, and I says, okay, we went out. And she says, well, unless he asks you out again, I'm not going to believe you. So then he asked me out. We went to the show. We had to take the bus. I know. Look at me. The queen of all queens is too good to get on a bus. But we took the bus, and we saw Murderer's Row and Assault on a Queen. Back then it was a double feature. Oh, 5 hours of extreme torture. Extreme torture. Didn't offer me any pop or popcorn or nothing. So we saw the movie, took the bus home. And then when he started walking home, I said, well, where are you going? And he said, well, I'm going home. And I go, oh, I never even asked, where do you live? He lived like 4 miles away from me. And I said, well, where do you live? And he told me where he lived. And I said, well, you're going to take the bus then? And he says, no, I don't have any money for the bus. I'm going to walk home. I said, you're going to walk home? He says, yeah, I'm going to walk home. I says, you can't. That's January. It was cold. And so my brother offered to give him a ride home on his motorcycle. No, my brother didn't have a motorcycle back then. I think my dad drove him home now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, my dad drove him home. My mom and my dad and myself drove Jim home, dropped him off at his house. And then I thought, it's not so bad. He walked 4 miles to my house to take me out, and then he was going to walk 4 miles home. And he spent all the money. That's why he didn't buy me anything at the show, is because he spent it on the bus tickets for us to get to the show and back. I kind of was seeing him in a different light. And then he called me just to thank me for a nice evening and how much fun he had. And I'm thinking, maybe he's not half bad. And now, here we are, how many years later? 58 years later, still together. And I'm still friends with Sue because then she found somebody else and she ended up divorcing him, but she ended up finding somebody else and she had a son with him. They were married for quite a few years and then they just kind of went their own separate ways. And then she found another guy, Hank, who she's been with ever since. And so it just all worked out in the end. It just worked out. So, my goofy old self, my goofy me found somebody. It wasn't Chuck Cybeck, and he probably didn't amount to anything because he never shows up at a reunion. We had a 5-year, we had really good officers, let me tell you. We elected really good officers. We had a 5-year, a 10-year, a 15-year, a 20, a 25-year, a 35-year, and a 50-year reunion. I mean, we elected really good officers because we have parties so we should be having one coming up here pretty soon. Probably our 60th and 28th. I'm curious to see how many people will still be alive. We lost a lot during the war because, like, when we were coming back for where's so-so? Oh, he's, and I never thought about that. Maybe Chuck wasn't at the war and he died in the war. I never even thought about it. Of course, he was never listed because they gave you a list of who died during the war. And I never saw his name on the list. But I don't know. Anyway, and the funny thing, too, is the whole time I was sitting here and Chuck Cybeck was sitting on this side of me all the time. And I was like, oh, so in love with him. Rick Folan was on this side of me, and he was looking at me like, oh, and I didn't know that until we went for our 10-year reunion, and he brought his wife over to introduce her to me, and said, this is the Sandy that I'm talking about all the time in high school, how I had such a mad crush, and she didn't give me the time of day because she was too busy with Chuck. See, you got your blinders on. I only had my blinders looking at Chuck. I didn't look at Rick, but I met Jim. So it worked out in the end. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. That's the way I think about it. So I spent the day working on the puzzle. We're making really good progress on it. I worked on just the plain brown, and I able to get it all together. And I was putting it on the board, and then I got a phone call, and I come back, and then Jim connected it to the side. So he's taking full credit for the whole side. I was working my way to doing that, but, it's a shared victory, I guess. And then we work from a tray. We work on little pieces, and then we try to work them onto the board. So I was working on the tray. You'll see a separate tray of things, and he's been working on the things that I've already worked on the tray that I put back into the board, and he's trying to work it onto that. But we're making progress. That's all that really matters. And then we do have a couple more people. Margaret Lizotte, Lizotte. Subscribe to Edie. Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, I don't know if some of you have already subscribed to her, or you subscribed to her, or you are already subscribed, but Naomi, Diane Mann, M-A-N-N, Darlene McCumber, M-C-C-U-M-B-E-R, and Linda Zadakowski. You all told me that you subscribed to her. I don't know if you already were subscribed or you just subscribed and just didn't say hi to her or whatever, but thank you. I think Edie's up to 815. 185 to go. We're going to do it. I know people are saying, why are you so invested in Edie? She's just a happy person. She puts a smile on my face. All my videos that I watch, everybody puts a smile on my face. But Edie is just, I don't know. There's something about Edie. I don't know. It's like that should be a song. There's something about Edie. In a good way. In a very good way. So tomorrow we're going to put up for our pantry challenge some meals that we had. I had one meal that wasn't so great. I had a surprise meal. You'll have to see what I'm talking about with that. It was a surprise meal. And and then I spent the day, I was watching Peacock of the Traitors with Alan Cumming. I love Alan Cumming. He plays a character in the show, which I like, because he's the host of the show, but it's not Alan Cumming the host. It's Alan Cumming, the actor, who's the host. If that makes any sense. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. He has a persona that's not his everyday persona. And he really makes the show interesting. And I have my favorites that I like. I got my favorites that I want gone. Not that they're my favorites, but, like the enemy list that I want gone. I'll tell you that one of the enemies that I wanted gone is gone, but you'll have to watch the show to figure out which enemy it is. There's been 4 episodes, and so there's been 4 people gone, so you don't know which one. But try to think of which one you think it is, and if you've watched it, let me know in the comments below who you think I was glad to see go. And, yeah, got to get this up because my Lions play tonight. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Leaning back. We all know what that means. Leaning back. If you don't know, sorry. You don't watch my channel enough to know what I'm talking about. You'll have to go watch some past videos on a Lions game day. So you'll have to check the Lions schedule to see when they played. And then you'll have to figure out what I'm talking about. Oh, what the heck. When my kicker leans back, I always lean back with them. Because he just does that. Just on the field goal attempts, the 3-point field goal attempts, not after the field, not after a football, after a touchdown. But fingers crossed. We have not made the playoffs since 1957, I think it is. And we haven't won anything since 1930. I think in 1937 and I think 1955. But we've been coming up dry for almost 65 years, 70 years. 70 years, yeah, 70 years. I'm like, oh, it's time. And we are, which I don't like, but we are favored to win. I don't know. It's kind of like when they go, oh, this kicker, he hasn't missed a kick in like 27 kicks, and then he misses the next one because they've jinxed him. So I'm hoping that people haven't jinxed us. But do I believe in that? Maybe. All right, let's tune in together tomorrow. Hopefully I see you then. Okay, we're starting to see some progress. I worked on that part of the border and Jim connected it for me. And then we just got other pieces going on around that we're working on. Here's the tray we're still working on. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. Coming along.